started on this project. I'm doing something completely out of my wheelhouse, but I think it's going to be fun. I hope that it works out. So I've got a 9x12 prepped canvas panel, you know, that you buy at the store already prepped. And I've traced the pattern of my legs on here. We're doing about the ballerina. And we're just doing like from, you know, midway up her body down. So I got a line here representing roughly where her waist would be. So I've taken some texture stucco out of this jar. Now I've had this for a while, so it was starting to get a little bit dry. Don't worry if it gets dry unless it's hard as a rock. You can still use this product. All you have to do is just work some, I just use a spritzing bottle and work some water into it till it's nice and smooth and creamy again. Okay? That's all you have to do. So if I don't use all this, I'm going to stick it back in the container. So now I'm going to take a couple of palette knives. I'm not really sure which ones that I want to use. I'm going to turn my canvas this direction, and we are going to start applying some of this stucco on here for her skirt. And we want to make sure that we come in. You can make it go down on her legs as far as you want. We're going to make it come. I'm going to try and keep it in line to make it look like ruffles. I'm going to come up to her waist, and then I'm just going to start adding up in here. I might want to try and get a couple of looks of layers on here. When this is dry, we will definitely be painting this, so I'm going to come all the way up to that line. Now if you want to tape off where that line is, you can do that. I'm not going to worry too much if it comes past it a little bit. We just want the look of some ruffles on here. I think this is going to be just awesome after we paint this, have this texture on here. Okay, I'm going to turn it this way and see if I need to come out more. I feel like this side needs to come down a little bit more. So I'm going to add a little bit more down on this side. I'm just kind of lightly skimming this on here. I'm not really pushing it because I want to have as much texture as possible. So let's check that. I feel like it goes back this way a little bit more on this side, so let's give it some more flow over here. And any place that we feel like it just doesn't fit well, I'm going to pull down this way a little bit to get some of this gathering up here to where we feel like it just doesn't look quite right. You can take your damp brush before it dries and just simply remove it. So I think that gives us some nice ruffles there. Some nice lacy stuff going on. So we have to let this dry. Some of these places are kind of thick on here, so they'll require a little bit more time to dry than other places. So I'm going to give it at least overnight and see how it works out. I'm going to go back through here with the tip of my palette knife and definitely make it look more ruffly. I don't want any kind of thick places on there. I want it to stay more ruffly. And just work it like that. I think that looks pretty good. This side still looks really high over here, so maybe I'll add a little height on this side where it's kind of going around to the back maybe. Okay, now if you want to, I wasn't planning on it, but I think I just might. I might pull a little bit of this texture up for the upper part of her ballet dress. need to draw some lines on here, do that. Try and keep it straight. Just texture it. Let me see if I've got her straight here. And I think I'll smooth it out a little bit. There we go. I'm trying to get it all the way to the top here and have a halfway straight edge. Okay, so that was just with the edge of the palette knife, just pulling it up, kind of giving her body there. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Like I said, you know, you can make her waist go up more. You can bring her up more on the canvas so that there's room down at the bottom to, you know, do something down at the bottom. Just adjust it on here like you like it. It's very fun, fast way to add some super great texture on here. Still feel like something is not quite right over here. Alright, I'm going to stop playing around in it and let it dry, and then we're going to come back and paint this up. It is going to be so much fun. Oh, I can't wait. I'm going to put the rest of my texture stuff back in my jar. Alright, my stuff is completely dry. I let it set for a couple of hours, so it wasn't too thick that it had to go overnight. So I want to paint the background, and I'm not going to worry about getting paint on this part because we're going to come back and paint it white. So I'm going to start out with some white and add some of that around our ballerina. And actually, I wanted to dampen my canvas first, so I'm going to put some water on here. And it won't matter if you get paint on the legs because we're going to be painting the legs and everything here in a little bit. I just want to get this damp. Okay, I'm going to pick up some sea glass and start working some of that in there, mixing it with that white a little bit. Just going to create a pretty little background here, some more white. A very soft background. I got some, the color Blue Mist. It's a little bit darker, so we can add some dark color in here. White. I'm using very gentle pressure here. I'm not pushing down a lot with my brush. A little bit more of that dark in here. So my canvas here is drying fairly quickly. So I just want to come up on the tip of this brush to just blend those. So I'm going to have to redampen this side when I get over here to it. Get right up to all that. Up here to the top. Put some more of this dark up here. Get some more white. Blend it gently is the key word. A little more white. Now I've got some media paint over here and I used it in a previous project, so I'm going to get a little bit of that on my brush. this color is called. Let me find it. Cobalt turquoise hue. Of course, it's blending with the paint that's in my brush, so it won't be a bright color. So I put a little bit on here, and then I wiped my brush off. Now I'm just going to very gently get a little more white and touch more water in my brush, and very gently tickle blend that. I don't want to blend out all of my color. I like that, so I'm going to add a little bit more of it, probably up here. It's a very pretty color. Let's go up next to our ballerina dress here. We got to make sure all the little crevices are filled. A little bit more white, so it's not quite such a dark color there. Okay. A little bit more water in my brush. Wipe off the excess. I want my brush to be wet, but I don't want it to be sopping wet. Okay, so that side's pretty good. Let's go over. I'm going to re-dampen the other side. A little bit of that color in my brush still, so it's going to dry pretty quickly. I have my fan and my lights are all on, so alright, so I'm going to go into, I'll put some more white out. I guess I should have done that before I started painting. I'm having a hard time finding my white because it's in a little bottle, and I'm used to it being in a big bottle. Okay, I've got the sea glass, so I'll start with that. Work some of that in here. Wipe it off. I'm going to get some white. I might have too much water on my canvas this time. Get some of that darker green. Work some of that in here. This is that blue mist. Kind of a gray green. One more white. Just wipe some paint off here so I can come back and gently blend. I've got a little bit of a glare, so I can't really see what I'm painting and what I'm not painting. Little X's to blend it. Some more of this dark down here, this blue mist. We'll come back and add that blue like we added over there. Some white. I need to go between the legs. Oops. I'm trying not to paint my easel here. Okay. Back on the handle. A little bit of blending here. Still very wet. Okay, let me go into some of that teal. Put some of that in here. Just a little bit of blending. I don't want to blend it out so that I can't see it. I love these media paints. They are so bright. I'll get some white here. accidentally dumped the wrong paint out here. I'm trying to not get in it. I don't think I'm doing very well. Okay, that's a pretty cool background, I think. I like the way it looks. Streaks up here. Let me kind of smooth them out. Okay. The main thing is you want to make sure that your canvas is covered. Okay, that looks pretty good. I like that. So we're going to go with that right there. So that was sea glass, blue mist, white, and a little bit of that media paint, cobalt turquoise hue. Let's paint in the legs. Oh, let's see. We're going to use warm beige and white here, and I'm just going to brush mix a little bit. So you can just try and stay as close to the same color. Your legs can be whatever value of flesh tone that you want them to be. I like to stay within my lines. I don't want our legs becoming bigger than what I need them to be. She's got a little bump out for an ankle there. If you want a little darker skin tone, I guess you could use the warm beige straight. So we'll go right up on the dress there because we got to get underneath that part of the dress. Right on your lines. You want to cover up those lines, but you don't want to go past them. Okay, there's our front leg. And then let's do our back leg here. And we'll have to apply 2 coats of this, so I'll go off camera and apply my second coats on everything, but I want to get the first coats on first. And if you're just brush mixing like me, you may not necessarily get your second coat the exact same color, and that's fine. Just as long as you cover the entire leg, it will be okay. Missed a little bit of getting some paint next to the leg there, so I'm just going to take a little bit of that sea glass and kind of float some in right there to kind of cover up those places I missed. A little bit around the shoe here because it's some white areas. Okay. Alright, so second coat should cover up all that green, so don't worry about that right there. The shoes, I'm going to mix cotton candy and white. You can make them just cotton candy, but I didn't want them to be quite that dark. I wanted them to be a little bit. So we'll just do a 1-to-1 mix and see how that looks. Flat on the toes, so make sure you keep that flatness there. I'm just going to go ahead and paint this edge back here, and then we'll come back in and put the dark right there. flat across the end of the toe. And then, of course, it's rounded on each edge, but it's flat right across there at the very tip. And this first coats aren't showing up too well on the monitor, it doesn't look like. Because we can't really see those shoes. I might have to make them a little bit darker. So, I don't know if the straight color, I guess we can make them the straight cotton candy. I painted this on another project and I did not make the base color this dark. Let me get my toe more squared off here. Okay, we can't really see that too well, but it will show up, I promise, once we get some shading and highlighting on there. Okay, I want to get a second coat on my legs, so I'm going to go off camera and do that so I don't have a lot of camera time doing something that you've already seen. Okay, I've transferred in my ribbons for her shoes, so we're going to base those in with some terra coral. You can add a little bit of white to that if it's a little bit too dark. I think I will add just a little bit of white to it. Take it down just a little bit. Make sure it follows the shape of the foot. You don't want to have the foot look flat or anything. It's got a little bit too much white in it. I actually like this color a little bit better, so I'll stroke back over these and make these a little bit lighter. So I might go with an equal mix here. This one a little bit fatter, kind of match the ones on the other side. Now you could paint ribbons on, on these as well, but I decided not to do ribbons. But you certainly can if you choose to do that. Okay, let's see if there's any place that needs touched up here with a second coat. Now my lines here. I don't want to see any of my canvas through there. I really don't want to see my pencil lines either, so I'm going to try and cover those up. Okay, I see another pencil line. Let me take care of this one. That looks good for the ribbons. Okay, we're going to start shading on here with some deep blush. This is the color color I'm using. I'm using all DecoArt paints. Acrylic. Okay, so let me find my instructions I wrote down from my other one that I painted. Let's see. The shoes we shaded with. Well, actually, I want to do the legs. Terra Coral plus Cotton Candy plus white. So we're going to dip into Terra Coral once. I'll show you how I do this. Dip into Terra Coral once, Cotton Candy, and white. Let's do it twice. I might do it a third time because I didn't get very much on that second try there. I don't want this very dark, so I'm going to kind of shear it down with some water. And we're going to shade the legs here. Let's see, come down this way. She's got a little bump out for a knee, and then back in. Okay, we'll go next to our ribbons here. I'm using a pretty large brush, so I want you to use the brush that you feel most comfortable using. Alright, I'm going to mix me a little bit more. That was one, and two, and then get some water and get it kind of sheer. And we're going to go by the shoe here. To be just a scooch darker. I thinned it down too much. White on the tip of my brush there. I really don't know how well you're seeing the shading here. I'm going to get it just a little bit darker so you can see it on the skin there. Top of the shoe here. That's really a little bit darker than what I want it to be. So take the water edge of my brush and just kind of take that down. I don't want it to be quite that dark. Okay, we're going to put a little bit under her knee here. Just kind of create a kneecap. Okay, we want to put some of this kind of underneath the skirt, so just kind of get it up underneath there as best you can. We might have to come back and do this after we paint our white if our white kind of comes out past. Kind of a shadow up underneath there. Okay, you just want to make sure you've gotten all of your areas. Okay, that looks pretty good. Alright, we're going to do some highlighting now. Okay, we're going to use white. I'm working into my brush here. So, let's see. We're going to do a little bit on the kneecap here. Just touch it back with your finger. We're going to come down the front of the leg here, or the center of the leg, and just kind of brush some in there. Down here. Brush some in there. I'm going to come along this part of the leg. Go back here on this leg a little bit. And we can kind of take it back towards the edge a little bit. Put some on the front edge of the leg. And let's put some on the foot down here. I'm just going to pat some on there. And a little bit here. And there. Let me come back and do this right here because that's not right enough. Come down the front of the leg. And we can put a little bit back here on the back part of the leg. I really want to put some water in my brush so I can kind of move that. Okay, back here behind the knee, I want to shade with that color mix that we mixed. It was 1 to 1 to 2. Alright, I just want a tiny bit on my brush here. I'm just going to put a little bit of this right here. Kind of creating the back of the knee there. Make it where it looks like it's the back of the knee. Really got her knee prominent there. I don't want it to be quite that prominent. So take the base color and kind of tone this down a little bit. I'm not sure how much that helped, but I like the kneecap. I just put too dark of a color into there, so it's really bouncing out there. See if I can straighten it up with some shading here. That looks better. Much better. Okay, I'm going to brighten a little bit. Down the front. On the foot. A little bit right there. Scooch there. This is a pretty fast project, so you should be able to get it done fairly quickly. I think that's going to finish her legs. I think that's pretty good on the highlighting and the shading there. Let's go down and work on her ribbons and her shoes here. Okay, on the ribbons, we're going to shade with some deep blush. Should be dark enough to shade with. We don't want really super dark colors. Might have to add a little bit of green to that to darken it up. I'm just going to put it in all the places. Don't let it get carried away and get too wide. Let's do this one over here. Come back and repeat this. That's got a lot of green in it. Let's add a little bit more of that deep blush. I'm using a curved flat brush, which it's a brush that's discontinued. So you'll want to use like an angle brush or a flat brush. Which one was over which one? Let me look at my line drawing. This one goes over, so do it like this. Back here on this edge. Okay. That color that we painted the ribbon in with, we want to put on the bottom of the shoe. Make it just a little bit darker. So this shoe right here has the sole. We can see a little bit of the sole. Okay, let's shade on this with that Terra Coral. So shade along the bottom. Put some of this up in here, where it's kind of in the shadow, and back here. Toe of this one. And we'll go along beside the sole here. I need to shade on that sole. We'll come up along the back just a little bit. We're going to have the top edge have a little bit of a highlight on it. So let me shade on this while I have it. Just kind of darken it up just a little bit. That's with some deep blush and a little bit of your dark green there, the blue mist that we put in the background. Let's highlight on this edge of her foot. And a little bit here. Okay, so we want to highlight on the ribbon to make it look more like a silk ribbon. So we're just going to do a back-to-back float in the center. This is with white. We'll have to repeat this. I don't want it all the way up there with my shading. Let's do this one. Just a little bit on this one. Okay, I'm going back over the shading with just the terra coral, so we can keep that more pink color. I had to get it a little bit darker to start with. I see the spot I missed. Out here. Okay, let's go back to our white and highlight on the shoes. Edge and a little bit on that back edge. And then we'll do down here on the front. Repeat that when it dries because the white tends to fade in there a little bit. Go back and brighten our little highlights on our ribbon. Shoe's probably dry, so let's get a second coat on there. Okay, I'm going to wide angle out just a little bit so you can kind of see those shoes at a distance. I might glaze over those. Lost their pinkness, I think. I don't want to lose my highlight. This is just some terra coral. Very sheer. It's mostly water with a tiny little bit of color in it. So if you decide to do that, don't get carried away. I think while we're down here with the feet, we'll just finish up with taking some of that blue mist and adding a little bit of a shadow down here under her shoes. Shadow in between her legs here. Okay. Got kind of a funny looking line there. Don't like it. There we go. That looks better. Okay. Alright, we're we're going to move up to the dress part. So like I said, this is a super fast project. Let me get some fresh white out here. Alright, get a different brush. Okay, we're going to paint our dress in with some white. You can give her body a little bit more form. You don't have to stay confined within the stuff that we put on here for her upper part of her body. And then down here it's just a simple paint. Cover all of your stucco stuff that we put on here. Super fun, super cool. Oops. I didn't want that to happen. I didn't want to go way down there. Stuff will be a little bit hard on your brushes, so it's probably a good idea if you use an older brush. This is not an old brush, so I'm going to be sorry that I used it, I'm sure. Okay. Make sure we got all of the stucco stuff covered. We will have to apply a second coat on here so we can cover up that blue that kind of got on the ends. So I'm going to let it dry and get a second coat on there, and then we're going to come back and finish her out. Okay, I was trying something to see if I liked it. I think it looks alright. I thinned down some terra coral, and while my white paint was still wet, I am brushing some of this terra coral into my skirt. I want to kind of make some highs and lows on here. So I'll bring some of this up here into this with just a damp brush, and I've got way too much paint on my brush. We're going to add a belt on here. So I might come back and add just a few darker places. Make it look more like, you know, it's got some depth, some ruffled things going on with it. So I'm just dragging it through. The white paint's getting to be pretty dry now, so it's not thinning down my color as much. Okay, I'm going to let that dry. I will probably come back and add some white on top of that. I want to add a belt on here. So I'm going to add it with the terra coral. Know if ballerina dresses have belts on them. I was never a ballerina, so I'm just kind of winging it here. I'm putting a belt on hers. Might make it a little bit wider belt. Shade and highlight on the belt just like we did on the ribbon down here. I'm just going to use this brush I got here. Well, it's not quite dry. I don't want to remove the paint. Let me get it dry. Okay, so I took some terra coral and mixed it with a little bit of the blush color and shaded above and below. So now I'm just going to kind of pull some gathers. Up in that. We won't really be able to see any if we pull some down here, but I can give it a shot. See if I can shade the belt now. It's that blush color. You can add a little bit of green to it if you need to. This is a very limited color palette on this project. Okay, now we'll get our white. And I'm using a very large brush here, so I want you to definitely go into a brush that you feel comfortable using a size. Highlight on belt here. And I'm going to take some of this white and just kind of try and hit some of the high places here. A little bit of highlight. I mean, we already painted it white, so I don't know how much of it will show up on here. Okay. I think I better highlight on the belt again. So it's dry. Don't go past the belt. Alright, let me wide angle out a little bit and see if I want to add some shadowing behind her. Not sure how much I can get to show up with the dark colors that I've already used. I want it to look like a dark line right beside her. So maybe we'll just go into some crevice areas here, like right here, and we can go here, behind the knee. That might even be a little bit too dark. Take that off. Try that again. It's just too dark. I don't like it. Me no like, me no like. Alright, let me highlight the leg back here again because I got that way too dark. And we put a little bit of it down here between her legs, so let's add a little bit more. Just a tiny bit. Just kind of want to sneak up on this stuff. Don't let it be too dark. Underneath the dress, just in a few places. Oops. I'm running out of paint and I really don't want to squirt out anymore. Oh, goodness gracious. Here. This is where you can just go in and kind of figure out where you want to add some color and just add it in there. Okay. I think that looks pretty good. I think I am going to call this one a done project. It was a very fast, very fun project. I hope that you enjoyed it and had a good time painting it. So I hope you paint it and send me some pictures because I really, really liked painting this. Okay, thank you for painting with me. I'll see you guys on the next one.